Hello, and welcome to Polyglot Principles. My name is Modja, and I'm a hyper-polyglot who speaks 8 languages. I speak 4 of these languages at an advanced level. This is the channel where I help ambitious language learners go from intermediate to advanced in their target language by giving them a deep and detailed understanding of the principles of language learning. So if you're an ambitious learner, which means, say, you're not happy with just doing a good job, getting by in the language, you want to get really good, you want to get fluent. If you're also the type of person that is currently at the intermediate level and you want to figure out how to go beyond or slightly advanced, you want to know how to get better. And you're also the type of person who doesn't like shallow things, you like detail, you like to really understand what's going on, how language works in detail. If you're that type of person, then this is the channel for you. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because I make videos every Monday at 8 a.m. Central African time that are specifically designed to help you go from intermediate to advanced in your target language. And as usual, if you have a question for me, criticism, suggestion, feedback, encouragement, whatever it is, if you want to contact me for any reason, just feel free to send me an email. My email is polyglotprinciples@gmail.com. The email is in the description of this video. Just go down below into the description. So let's dig into the meat of today's video. The title is how to use native-like phrases in a language. So this happens a lot sometimes, where you might be speaking the language but you're using unnatural phrases that a native would never use. So the question is, how do you get yourself to use native-like phrases? Is it even important to use native-like phrases? So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And as usual, I do have a question for you. So first question is, should you use native-like phrases or not? If you think we should use them, why? If you don't think we should use native-like phrases, why do you think we shouldn't use them? So please pause this video, go to the description, the comment section below, and answer the question that I've just asked. Should you use native-like phrases? If so, why? If not, why not? And just pause and do that, and then come back and let me know. Just watch the rest of the video and let's find out if your reasons agree with my reasons. It's going to be a fun exercise. And of course, if you put in the effort to answer questions, you'll be more attentive and you'll learn more from this video. As usual, I have very useful tips in this video right through to the end. So to make sure you don't miss out on anything, make sure to stay all the way till the end. Because one idea that you miss could be the one key that could actually unlock your language learning future and help you get to the next level in the language you're trying to learn. Let us now move into it. So the first thing is, we're talking about how to use native-like phrases. But before we figure out how, it's important to us to figure out why. Is it necessary? Should you use native-like phrases? So this kind of stems in the idea of what it means to be fluent. So some people think that to be fluent in a language means you have to speak like a native. For example, if you've learned French well, you should be able to speak French in such a way that nobody can tell that French is not your native language. So you should, in particular, you should maybe speak like people from Paris or speak like people from Belgium. And you should speak in such a way that you're identical to a native. That means you've really learned the language. So this is one way to learn a language. Absolutely, this is a sign of mastery for sure. But there's many ways to be fluent in a language. This is just one of the ways. In particular, I don't really subscribe to that as the way that demonstrates mastery in a language. It's a form of mastery, but it's not the form of mastery that I subscribe to. I think that basically, to be fluent in a language means that you're able to express your ideas correctly in the language. And correct is clearly defined. And that is, there's a range of correctness. And I don't want to go into too much detail about what I mean by correctness. But the point is that it doesn't have to sound like a native speaker. All you gotta do is to speak correctly. Now, if you want to know what I mean by correctly, what do I really mean by fluency, becoming really good at a language, if you want to know all that stuff, I've made a video on the topic called What Does Fluency Really Mean? Go to the description of this video and you'll see a link to it. And you'll figure out my exact thoughts on what fluency is and how to know if you become fluent, what you need to do to become fluent, and so on. Okay. That being said, so you don't need to sound like a native, not necessary. Because if you look around you, there are many people who've learned, like imagine this. Imagine, for example, somebody who, let's say, was born in Russia, didn't know any English, then moved to America and became a professor at university. The person speaks English at a very high level, very high level. Their level of vocabulary is higher than native speakers. Their ability to express ideas is much better, but they don't have an American accent. They don't sound like an American. But they're pronouncing words correctly, but they just don't sound like an American. Is it really fair to say that such a person is not fluent? I don't think so. So you don't need to sound like a native speaker in order to be fluent. However, you're learning, you're watching these videos because you're not fluent. You're trying to get fluent. So when you're in the phase of learning a language, it's important, although you don't need to sound like a native, it's important to actually imitate the way natives speak, so that eventually you can learn how they speak and then create your own style of speaking that is also correct. Because at the beginning you just have no idea what to say, what is correct, what's incorrect. So it's important to follow the natives at the beginning, learn from them, try to pronounce things like they do, try to use expressions that they would use, and then once you have a good enough intuition, now you can start speaking in your own style that brings together all the experience that you already have. So, short answer to the question, should you learn native-like phrases? Yes. You should learn to speak like a native speaker until you get to the phase where you can develop your own style. Okay, so now let's answer another question. So why is it that language learners tend not to use native-like phrases? They might say strange things. Perhaps someone is learning English and they might say a phrase like, my stomach is craving food, or I am craving food. So the sentence is grammatically correct, but no native says that, I am craving food. Any native would say, I am hungry. I am hungry. Or I'm starving sometimes. People use that expression, but definitely not, my stomach is grumbling. So, but the question is, why is it that we tend not to use native-like phrases when learning a language? Well, what's the cause of that? So let's dig into it. I identified two reasons why that happens. The first reason is that you're attached to the old way of doing things. You see, you are a native speaker of some language. Maybe you're an English native speaker, a French native speaker. So over time, you become accustomed to thinking and expressing ideas in a certain way. Oh yeah, there's a bird here that's basically maybe messing with my recording, I'm not sure. Yeah. All right, I think the bird is now gone. So I was trying to think about, why don't you use native like phrases when you're learning your target language? Why do you keep using awkward sentences that natives say, yeah, nobody says that? Well, the first reason is just attachment to your old way of doing things. Like I was saying before, if you're learning a language, whatever your language is, you have a native language, French, Spanish, whatever your native language is, you've been probably using this language for years, and you become accustomed to thinking a certain way, expressing ideas in a certain way. Naturally, because it's what you're used to, you feel it's superior to other ways. You can find yourself unconsciously believing that your way of expressing ideas is superior to other ways. Once you have this superiority complex, what will happen is when you try to learn a new language, you'll not really be receptive to the new way of expressing ideas. You're going to find yourself imposing your old way, the way you speak in your native language, trying to impose it onto this new language. For example, there are certain things that French people do, or French speakers do. For example, when you're eating, a French speaker will tell you, bon appétit. Which kind of, if you translate it to English, it means good appetite. It means kind of like eat well or something. So this is a thing like French speakers, like if you come to Congo, if someone finds you eating, they'll always say, bon appétit. It's like the thing you say, it's the correct thing to say. Well, that's true of French-speaking countries, but In English speaking countries or in English, we don't just have the habit of doing that. We don't even express that idea. Right? If an English person finds you eating, they'll just let you continue to eat. Or at least they will not say good appetite. They might say enjoy your meal, but not good appetite. Right? So if you are a French speaker who's attached to your way of saying things, you're gonna go into English and keep saying good appetite, good appetite, good appetite. And people will tell you, yeah, nobody says that, or say enjoy your meal, but you're gonna start resisting. Or, for example, something in French, right? There's a way people say, je me sens content, which means, if you translate it directly, it means, I feel myself happy. That is how a French person expresses that thought. But in English, we don't say that. I feel myself happy. We just say, I am happy. Now, if you are a French person who's attached to your way of expressing things, if people tell you I am happy, you're not really going to take it in. You're going to continue to hold on to your superior way, which is, oh, I feel myself happy, and so on. So this is like this is a really powerful principle in life. Even typically, younger people are open to new ideas and older people are not, because older people have ingrained ways of doing things. Because of their superiority complex, they believe that they know and understand how things are, they're not able to learn. Or they, at least, even if they try to learn, they learn slower than younger people. And I'm not saying you're not, even if you're a young guy, but in terms of your language, you're old, in the sense that you've been using the language for a long time. You're an old language user. Make sure this superiority complex is not creeping in. Because if it is, you'll definitely not use native-like phrases. Because you're not open to them. You're resisting instruction. So, by the way, all the concepts I'm going to be sharing in this video, as you saw, I go really in depth. All the concepts I'm going to be sharing in this video, I can't really go in as much detail as I can in my writing. I've written notes in which I go into greater detail about everything I'm talking about here. So if you really want to understand how to use native-like phrases, be sure to watch this video carefully and then also access my notes. The notes are free. You just have to go to the description of this video and click on a link that will give you free access to my notes. And the notes are exactly on everything I'm talking about here. And if you watch the video and read the notes carefully, your understanding of how to use native-like phrases will skyrocket. And if you apply the principles, of course, you're going to be using native-like phrases more and more. Now, I make videos every Monday at 10 a.m. Central I publish videos every Monday at 8 a.m. Central African time. So if you're enjoying this video so far and you want to continue to learn about how to go from intermediate to advanced in a language, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification. Ding, ding, ding. That way you'll be notified whenever I publish a new video. So right now we're talking about why aren't you using native-like phrases in your speaking? Why don't you use native-like phrases? First reason is you're attached to the old way of doing things. That might be the reason. The second one might just be ignorance of the phrase. You just don't know the phrase. For example, in German, so in English, if let's say you're talking to someone, you can ask, oh, how is your mom? That question, how is your mom? You're asking about the well-being of the mother. This is how we express ideas in English. But I've tried this with German speakers, trying to use a similar structure in German. Wie ist deine Mutter? That's why, wie ist deine Mutter? That's why, how is your mom? But directly translated into German. Wie ist deine Mutter? And German speakers always look at me in shock. They have no idea what I'm asking. Like, what do you mean, they'll ask me? It's just not there. They don't express this idea this way. They don't inquire about people by saying, how is... what you say in German is, wie geht ist deine Mutter? The direct translation is, how is your mother going? Or how is your mother going? How is your brother going? If you say it like that, then they understand what you're talking about. The reason I was not saying wie geht ist deine Mutter, but I was saying instead wie ist deine Mutter, how is your mother, is it's not because I was holding on to my English way of expressing things. Really what was happening was I was ignorant. I didn't know how to say it in German. Sometimes you don't use native-like phrases. You have an open spirit. You're willing to learn a new way of expressing yourself, but the reason is just you just don't know how to say it. You just don't know the native way of saying it. In that case, that's fine. You just say what you can and then you open yourself up to correction. Eventually, you'll know what the natives say. So we've talked about two reasons why you're not speaking like a native. why you're not using native-like phrases. One is you're attached to your old way, and two, you might just be ignorant about how native speakers would express a particular idea. Let's now move on to another important part of this. What can you do? Because we've said to be fluent doesn't mean you need to sound like native speakers. You just need to speak correctly. But in order to speak correctly, you need to imitate native speakers. Because the correct things to say is based on what natives consider to be acceptable or correct. The correct is based on on the natives, basically. Which means that you need to know how they say things in order to be able to find variations, correct ways of expressing things that still work. Maybe it's not how they would say it, but it's still correct. So first, imitation, as we said. First, you need to imitate, use native-like phrases. So we've talked about, we've talked about why you don't, why you're not using them, but now we need to know how can you get yourself to use native-like phrases. What are some methods that can help you? Application of principles. So I have two methods for you. The first one is just work with a native. What this means is you could just record yourself speaking or write something in the language and then have a native correct it for you. And have a native, on every sentence, if the native doesn't like the sentence, just ask them, how would you say? That's a question. Well, I need to drink some water. That's the key phrase. I use it all the time when I'm working with native speakers. I'll write something or I'll say something, and then if I find them saying, then on every sentence I ask them, especially if they don't like the sentence or they say something's off about it, I just ask them the question, how would you say this sentence? How would you express this idea? And then whatever they give me is the native way of saying it. So I just imitate what they just said. So over time I find myself using more and more native-like expressions. And I'm experiencing this a lot with my German. Just using the phrases that a German speaker would use. And it's because I keep asking them to correct my sentences, and I imitate and accept their correction. Because I'm not stuck in my old way of doing things. I'm not trying to impose my other languages onto German. And I suggest you do the same with whatever language you're trying to learn. So that's the first method, work with a native. The second method is, God bless technology. You don't, native speakers are useful, but you can still make progress in making native-like sentences by using translation programs, such as DeepL, I think is the best, or Google Translate can also help you. Usually, many sentences which are translated by Google Translate or DeepL are so good that usually native speakers cannot tell they were written by a computer. Sometimes you'll give them to a native speaker and they can make no corrections because everything is correct. It's correct and well expressed. So that means this is an opportunity for you. So for example, you can write something, let's say, write a sentence, how you think it should be said. Let's say you're learning German, for example, and you want to say something like, I am hungry. You could write down how you think you should say I am hungry in German. Maybe you make a mistake and you say, Ich Hunger habe. Maybe you said that, Ich Hunger habe. Now, go to the translation program, let's say go from English to German, and type in the thought. So you say, I am hungry, and see how the computer says you should say it. How does the translation program say you should say it? And you'll see the computer will tell you it's Ich habe Hunger. So you'll know that the correct way to say it is Ich habe Hunger, not Ich Hunger habe. And because the translation programs are so correct, you're also going to be learning how natives say it, Ich habe Hunger. And if you use this process, you find yourself speaking again more and more like a native, using more and more native-like expressions. This is another method that you can use. So as I mentioned before, I have gone into detail through speaking about this topic of how to use native-like phrases. But I cannot really go I cannot go as deep in my speaking as I can in my writing. I've written about this particular topic in greater depth. So if you want to get access to my notes on that, just go to the description of this video and click on a link. It will send you to my notes. The notes are freely accessible. if you watch this video carefully, read those notes, your understanding of how to use native-like phrases will improve. Which means if you apply those principles, you'll find yourself sounding more and more like a native, using more and more native-like phrases. And you start getting good feedback about that. Native saying, wow, that's excellent. How do I know this? Because I've done the same stuff. I get these kinds of comments all the time from natives. Wow, you speak with no accent, or oh my goodness, yeah, this is a really beautiful sentence, very well written, and so on. Or yeah, you said that really well. These are all great compliments. And they came to me because I applied these principles. If you want to know the same principles, make sure to read this and to watch this video and read the notes carefully. And again, I make videos every Monday at 8 a.m. Central African time. I publish videos every Monday at 8 a.m. Central African time. And they are specifically designed to help you go from intermediate to advanced in your target language. And to make sure you get those videos, make sure to like this video, subscribe. Please hit the bell notification, ding, 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 ding. That way you'll be notified whenever I publish a new video. And if you, as usual, if you have any questions, any suggestions, any criticism, any ideas for me, you want to contact me for any reason, I'm very glad to hear from you. Please send me an email, polyglotprinciples@gmail.com. And if you consider, the email is in the description below. And if this video was useful for you, please share it with other people, because I'm trying to grow the channel here. So if you can help me grow the channel, that will be super helpful. Let's make our community bigger. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye.